Hey viewers, George here, and we're going to be talking about another game. Right off the bat, I was hesitant about actually grabbing this game. For two reasons. One, I didn't even know it came out. That's always a good sign. and the second one is because I hadn't heard anything about this game. Actually, I think the very small amount I heard about this game, I thought it was a Vita game, to be honest. And, I'm actually pretty certain that it is on the Vita as well. I'm not entirely certain about that, but it could be. Game, of course, what I'm talking about, if you haven't read the title of the video, which people do, apparently, I don't know, is, damn glare, Puppeteer. Playing this on the 3DS. No, the PlayStation 3. Like I said, I think there is a Vita version, but don't quote me on that. So, Puppeteer, what is the Puppeteer? What is this game about? Well, it's... Take the platforming of Little Big Planet. Okay, it's in that 2D sense. Actually, don't take that because it's... It's a 2D It's a 2D side-scrolling platformer. Side-scrolling. I should actually put that in quotations because it doesn't actually side-scroll because the way they present it is like a puppet show. Hence the title Puppeteer, of course. So the way they present it is the stage is where you do your stuff, and then when you complete that section, it moves to the next part of the stage. Or there'll be levels where the thing rotates around, because you can do that, obviously. And you're just going through a bunch of levels. And at the end of each level, there's a boss, and there's 7 acts. Each act has 3 levels in it. So, you know, and the platforming is good. A little, it's hard to describe, but it's weird at first trying to just grasp it. I don't know why. It just feels a little weird at first. How to describe it? It's, I think the reason why I said Little Big Planet at first is because when you jump, it sort of feels a little floaty, like in Little Big Planet, but maybe not. It might just be how I perceive it weirdly. It's hard to describe this game, but like I said, the whole thing's presenting this puppet show thing, not like how Gunstringer is, because it's presented in a different kind of puppet style. More in a traditional, like I said, like it's a platformer, but it's not a side-scrolling platform because a lot of things will be behind the next bit. So once you complete that one, that scenery drops. Sorry, that scenery drops, and then the one behind it moves up front, sort of thing. And it works. It's actually really interesting. It's weird because I haven't played a lot of games that actually do that. So it's a little weird at first to sort of grasp how the platforming sort of works in conjunction of how they present the whole thing. But it works fairly well. And it's neat, and it's different too. Other things I need to talk about this game, because there's not... The thing about this game... Sorry, the thing about this game... Man, that sounded weird when I said that. The thing about this game... There we go, that sounds better. Is that, it feels there isn't, like, a lot there to talk about, but when you're playing it, it is definitely a lot of fun when you're playing it. The neat mechanic, I guess you can say, about this game is that, along the way you collect these heads, because your character's head sort of got eaten at the beginning by the evil moon bear. Because that's a thing. I think it was based off of some sort of myth or, you know, lore or something like that. It just seems like it would be. But, sorry, I'm getting sidetracked. And anyways, along the way, you can find these heads. And the heads sort of act as a hit counter for you. So, when you get hit, you lose your head. You can collect the head if you're quick enough. Which gives you your hit back, and you can hold 3 at a time. But the other reason you want to keep your heads is because you can actually use these abilities to sort of like open up secrets and bonus stages. But you just and they give you a whole bunch of heads, and the thing is, you don't. I think my big problem with it is they give you so many different heads, and you really don't know which ones you want to keep. So it's like, because if you have 3 heads and you collect another one, the one you just collect takes the 3rd slot. So whatever was in the 3rd slot just sort of like disappears. And it's like, what if you needed that head but you didn't know, right? That sort of thing. So there is a little bit of trial and error if you want to get everything in the game. So that's they're really in the way of like going back and collecting things is getting the other heads, because they show you like a bunch of the heads that you collect in the game, and they give you a story behind each one, and then bonus stages, which is there's one in each stage as well, and they're just like little mini games essentially. Like in the one in the first one, you're bouncing on a spider's butt, and you're just trying to collect all these jewel thingies, like they call them like moon things. I wasn't listening. But you collect these gems, and it's a fun little mini game, and they definitely help sort of break up the main part of the game, which is the platformer, just to give you a bit of a side divergence, sort of like in a Crash Bandicoot game or something like that, where you go into the little bonus stage during your level, and it's just a nice little thing that happens, as you get a couple extra things to help you. It's cool. Other things to talk about this game. Your main weapon, which you don't get until the end of Act 1, is scissors. And use scissors to cut enemies down and free the stolen souls of children. It sounds really weird. It's an E10 game as well. Like I was saying before, the whole thing's presented in a puppet show. And I should have been listening, but I'm pretty sure it's all voiced by one person, sort of like a puppeteer. How they would more or less voice their own the whole thing, and it narrates and whatnot. At least it sounded like it at first, and it easily could be for all I know. And if it is, then that's fan-fucking-tastic. If it's just done by one guy, because that would make the game that much cooler. If it isn't, then, you know, whatever. It's a small thing, but it would be a really cool small thing. The music is really epic sounding, though. Not a whole lot to write home about if you do that sort of thing. It's there, it exists, it's really nice, it fits with the game, but it's not something like you would probably download and put on your iPod, like the Rayman Origins and Legends music, because that music's fantastic. This one, it's fantastic, just not fantastic enough for me to want to really go out of my way and download it. If that makes any sense. Anything else I need to really mention about this game? As far as I can tell, and the guy who's selling me the game is trying to figure this out too. I think this is done by Sony themselves. It's a first-party game, which for some reason it feels weird when Sony releases a first-party game, because it's sort of like Microsoft. They don't really. If I say any more about that, I'm gonna get flagged. But first-party game. I love how it advertises the trophies. Is its main thing, but they obviously don't plan to do DLC, which is a bit of a unfortunate, because it could be like an extra act or something like that, like a special act or something. That'd be really cool. Or like an act where it's like presenting like a children's theater puppet show, because this is more like a really high-end one, because the settings and changes is a ba-bam, ba-bam. It's something that you wouldn't see too fucking often. Though I don't know how often people go and see puppet shows. So I think it's a dying art. I think it is. Anyways, you can play this with a controller. You can also play this with a Move if you want, because That's a thing people do. And oddly enough, they don't really advertise this one either. But it's 3D TV compatible, and you really see it because a lot of times it like juts things out in front of the screen, which is why it baffled me that nowhere on the front of this game, on the front of the game here, did it say 3D TV enabled sort of stuff or anything about it being usable with the Move controller. That's all on the back, which is weird because games usually like forefront that thing, like we can use Move on this game, we can do 3D, but it's not that pretentious, which is interesting. But would have saved me a quick look at the case earlier. Beyond that, though, it's a fun little game. It costs, I think, $40 plus tax, of course. So it's sorry, it's a little cheap. It's on the cheaper end for a PlayStation 3 game, and a first-party game for that matter, when you think about it. There is a multiplayer cooperative thingy, though I haven't tried it because I'm a loner. But it exists. Also, the pause menu is called the intermission. I like that. Beyond everything else, what I really love about this game is its presentation. Because, like I said, it presents itself as a puppet show. And not just that, a puppet show like in that stage theater setting. So, like I said, when you pause the game, it's called an intermission. I like that. That's a nice little touch. Sorry, my speech is being weird today. It's a nice little touch. You know, you'll see things with strings attached to them. You know, like how I was saying with the platform, it doesn't side scroll. You complete that the foreground, and then the foreground drops, and then the background becomes a new foreground. It just, everything how it's done is really cool, and it even has an audience that reacts to the story as well. You know, and not just like during cutscenes or anything. If you were to like unlock something or like find that little secret or something like that, the audience goes, "Woo! Oh yeah!" Like that sort of thing. And I was like, that's a nice touch. I like that game. You're awesome. And of course, you can lower the volume on them if you want to in the settings, which is a nice little thing because the crowd does get really loud on the default setting. So you have to turn a lot of them down just to make things hearable, especially like the narration and stuff, because that gets flooded by like the music, which is really fucking loud. I had to turn that down. And some of the sound effects are a little bit loud, and the audience is really fucking loud. So it's nice, and they allow you to fuck around with those settings like individually. Not like that, but I'm trying to think if there's anything else I need to mention. Not really. Platforming works really well. Though I think the only thing I have a problem with is the jumping, because when you jump, it doesn't really. It's hard to describe. I hate when I say that, but the jumping, when you go to jump, you don't quite do a full jump like you would expect to do, if that makes any sense. Like, your jump's really pathetic. And the best way to describe it is sort of like how in Little Big Planet, the jump doesn't go as high as you expect it to go. Like, if you've ever played Little Big Planet, when you just hit the jump button once, you know how it does that like little small jump? It's sort of like that. That's what the jump is in this. It's not that big jump that you would need. It's like a little small hop. And it just feels weird. And it sort of fucks you up a little bit in some places. But the game's really forgiving too. It's not that difficult of a game. Because the whole thing is, when you get hit, you lose your head. But you can collect that head, so you don't really lose the life of that head. So it's forgiving. So you don't, even if you fuck up a little bit, because I haven't seen a part where there's a giant pitfall or something like that. You know, you fuck up, you can redeem yourself rather quickly. You don't feel like there's a huge amount of consequence to it. So it's just a fun little romp of a game that you can play through, enjoy the little story it has with it, and just it's a game you have fun with, if anything. Though with that said, I wouldn't mind like a little bit more of a challenge, because the game doesn't present itself like it's going to be that difficult to get through. Like once you get the scissors, you can use them obviously to cut, but you can also jump in the air and like control how you move around and cut. So like there's a lot of freedom with that. Also, doing that feels really clunky a little bit because you go so slow. It's like, why am I not going faster? It feels weird. The game feels weird, but it's good. It's fun, but it feels weird. It's such a hard thing to talk about in some ways. But would I recommend playing this? Definitely. I recommend at least trying this out. I don't think there's a demo of it, but I recommend trying it out. If your friend has it, definitely get so you can borrow it or try it at his place or something like that. If you're one of those people who are looking for a new PlayStation game to play, definitely give it a try. If you like Little Big Planet, I'd definitely give it a try, because, well, like I said, at first I was going to describe it a little bit like Little Big Planet, but it sort of isn't, in a lot of ways. But it feels a lot like Little Big Planet, because when I first saw stuff about this game, I thought the guys who made Little Big Planet were making this game, because it looked very similar. Like, just the way that, like, it looked. And in some cases, how it feels as well. So, definitely give it a try. And with that all said and done... Yeah, with that all said and done, until next time, keep on gaming.